All
right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a cybersecurity advocate, and today at cybersecurity, cyber safety media, we'll be talking about a very interesting topic called Chat GPT security risk. You know, that is what we'll be looking at. But let's wait some minutes, for others to join in before we kickstart proper. Okay. Welcome once again. I really want to appreciate everyone who is tuned in to this particular session. So, like I said, this evening we'll be looking at Chat GPT. We'll be looking at the security risk involved in Chat GPT. I believe everyone is excited about this particular app. A lot of people are using it. But today, we're going to look at what it is and different cybersecurity risks that we should look out for while using this particular app. With me, I have Shegun Olaniyan, who would be also speaking at this particular session, and also Briggs Dabotumbo, who is also live with us. We would also be sharing some tips with regards to Chat GPT. Um, so Chat GPT is actually the fastest growing consumer app on the internet with over 100 million active users in just 2 months after it was launched. Chat GPT is actually an AI powered chatbot which is developed by OpenAI. ChatGPT was launched in October 20th, 2000 and October 30th rather, 2002. And really, when it came up, everyone actually loved it. ChatGPT is actually powered by a language model, which is also referred to as LLM. It is actually programmed to understand human language and also to generate responses or inputs in a conversational manner. Um, it is a technology that looks like that of Google, a search engine, whereby you ask questions and it also gives you back answers. But with ChatGPT, it's one such that it comes in a conversational manner. You ask, it responds. You also ask, it responds. I've really enjoyed using ChatGPT. But I would like to ask our speakers, Briggs, what is your experience like, using ChatGPT?
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, thanks for joining us in this awesome section where we have to talk about the risks of ChatGPT, which comes with the AI language and the rest. So, ChatGPT is an awesome chatbot which is best for um, quick search, and is mainly known for its ability to boost productivity. So I've literally used ChatGPT for multiple stuff, which includes creating of business models, generating of text, security research, and funny conversations when I tend to be bored, asking comedies and the rest. So while the concept of artificial intelligence always seems to be and have a terrifying and futuristic implication. So most major companies these days have invested in chatbot technologies and have already used 90% of the abilities which it has, and also the most likely have already become a day-to-day something which some persons use in line with their day-to-day activities. So say, just like we have the Siri, we have the Alexa, and we have Google Home and other chatbot uh, kind of tools which automate services for us. And most media houses, like let's say Netflix, Hulu, CNN, and NTV, MTV, have already and successfully used chatbot technologies to engage with your customers. So chatbots and ChatGPT has been a very nice tool. So I've literally had an awesome experience using ChatGPT and chatbots.
Wow, wow, that's really interesting to know. Shagun, what's your experience like using Chat
Hi, hi.
GPT?
Okay, so
Hello.
you just give us the opportunity to introduce ourselves. My name is Shegun Ebenezer Olani of my name, and I'm a third-party risk analyst. Uh, I do a lot of speaking, a lot of writing uh, when it comes to cybersecurity. Also, I do a lot of community work. All right, so my experience with ChatGPT is that tool is a lifesaver when it comes to research, and because I do a lot of
Yeah,
writing. Um, I use it for a lot of research about different topics because, uh, the way the data was trained is it was trained with a lot of huge amount of data that has to do with different um, aspect of life, including science and scientific research. So yeah, I've gotten a lot of insights from ChatGPT for research purpose, and sometimes when I'm stressed out and I just want to cool off my head, have few conversations with it, and very funny and intriguing conversations. And you just be shocked with some of the responses you get. And apart from that,
yeah,
ChatGPT have been so helpful when it comes to solving certain difficult assignments, um, mathematical problems and the rest of it. You just see that it gives you some very accurate answers to some of those assignments. Now, I haven't said that. I said I use it for research. I don't copy and paste directly. The purpose of research is so that you can contribute your own thoughts too to the subject matter, not just what other people are saying. And yeah, and so far,
for sure.
ChatGPT is, you know, is fed with a lot of data that you might not be you might not be able to verify the authenticity of the composition based on it is using statistical models and machine learning algorithms to put those words together. So I don't use those whatever I get from it directly. I just get those insights and then build on it, come up with my own thoughts on the subject matter, and then use whatever output from ChatGPT as like a direction. So yes, that has been my experience. A few codes too, I've been able to get a few codes like Python scripts from ChatGPT, and very awesome tool. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Briggs and also Shagun. We would really make that conclusion that indeed it's an awesome application, it's an awesome platform where we can, get to find so many interesting things. It's really, really an awesome platform. Um, so, but if from a cybersecurity point of view, if I may ask, Shegun, what are some cyber risks associated with Chat GPT? What are your take on this?
So, all right, that's a very good question there, because I know, of course, a lot of people will be thinking, so what could be the cyber risk? ChatGPT is just a chatbot and just a machine learning algorithm that gives based on the data that it was fed with, right? But you have you thought of it as increase in social engineering? Before, cyber criminals go, they put in more effort, to get tools and get equipment together and try to make their research, do a lot of work before they even get some of these tactics and procedures for coming up with, cyber secure, social engineering schemes. Now you can easily, by just one line of statement on ChatGPT, you can get different tactics that you can use to fish people, phishing techniques. You can compose a phishing mail or phishing email, phishing text messages for you. You don't need to rack your brain or try to say, how do I go about it? Can compose that for you, because you know why? Of course, when you input such that, okay, I want ChatGPT give me a sample or an example of a social engineering email. Uh, I want to use it to fish somebody, or I want to use it to hack somebody, or I want to use it to launch an attack. Of course, with those kind of words, it might not be able to give you your desired output. But what if you tweak it this way? That you want to do a social engineering campaign, and then you need a social, like a phishing email composition, or you need a phishing text message composition. It will give it out, right? So there is increase in social engineering tactics and techniques, because it becomes very easy for you to just get those things from ChatGPT and then use for your, malicious purposes, right? That's number one. Number two is script kiddies who go about, to use tools that are developed by other hackers or other attackers, now have a higher chance of getting more tools and more scripts, malicious scripts, out of ChatGPT. So what I mean is this: ChatGPT can return based on your input, can return snippet of code. For example, uh, like a command prompt, script, or a PowerShell script that can evade, maybe like an escalate, um, evade, or maybe escalate like permissions on a Windows system, right? Now these things, I know you will say, oh, these things are useful for a cybersecurity professional, but have you thought of it that even hackers too, or script kiddies, might not need to go on the internet to look for tools developed by others, or go through that stress of getting tools outside of ChatGPT. They can just, with one line of statement, get script out of ChatGPT and begin to use, right? Another risk is data exposition, confidential data exposition. Or exposure. What do I mean by that? Is that many of the times when you are engaging with ChatGPT, you won't know when you've shared some very vital data about yourself. And what people don't understand is whatever input you give as whatever you give as input is being stored as a data that ChatGPT use to train itself so that it can become better. And that is why, and this is why when you input anything and you correct, the chat box, but it says it understands, because it stores it as part of, the knowledge base, right? So when you mistakenly share your sensitive data, it can be exposed to any other person that interact with ChatGPT if they come up with maybe a word that looks like what they are looking for, and some of the information or vital information can be exposed to it. These are some of the um, risk associated with ChatGPT. It can increase social engineering tactics and procedure and attack. It can increase the use of scripts by script kiddies, or the use of advanced scripts that script kiddies can use to attack other people. It can, you know, unintentionally, right, leak or expose sensitive data of people if they are not careful in the way they use ChatGPT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shegun, for that enlightening view with regards to the risk that is associated with ChatGPT. For our audience listening to us, we want to thank you very much for staying tuned. We can see you, Terry, Tumishe, Goswe, Oluwatosin. Thank you so much for joining. We can see your chat also. Please, you can leave your question with regard to Chat GPT. If you have any question related to Chat GPT or your concern or your view with regards to this particular platform, please feel free to comment, in the comment section. Still on Chat GPT, Mr. Briggs, it is true that this platform is really an awesome platform. Everyone is loving it, so to say. Do you think there are vulnerabilities or weakness in this particular GPT or any other chat boots that could be exploited by hackers or malicious actors? What do you think?
Yeah, sure. There are definitely vulnerabilities as an AI language or language model. ChatGPT has several potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited if the proper precautions are not taken as an artificial intelligence model, which is a product of a programming language, and it's highly prone to number one, let's say for example, data poisoning, which is also an attack on machines and AIs. So this is a kind of attack which is um, an adversarial attack on machine learning systems, in which an adversary injects a few correctly labeled and, let's say, minimally perturbed samples of data or into the training data, which is as ChatGPT is, it's a trained AI which responds to requests. So, causing a model of misclassification of a particular test sample during interference of the request from the machines. So ChatGPT is literally vulnerable to data poisoning attacks where an attacker can provide malicious data to the model during trainings of the machines. So it can cause incorrect, or let's say, and it can be harmful to the request and the output which it gives to humans, and also the adversarial attacks, which is like another kind of attack on its own. It's a kind of malicious attacks on the machine AI, where data which may seem to be okay in human eyes, but causes misclassification in machine learning pipelines. So these attacks are often made in the form of specifically designing, or let's say specially designed noise. Yes, so which can be elect on in a kind of misclassification. So in what I'm trying to say is ChatGPT can also be vulnerable to adversarial attacks, where an attacker can impute misleading or malicious inputs to the model, which can cause it to output let's say harmful or incorrect results, like I said, for the data poisoning attacks. So I would also talk about the aspect of data privacy. Yeah, so data privacy and security is a kind of vulnerability where we can have data breaches on the machine learning database. And also, since ChatGPT relies on large amount of data to function, so there's a risk that sensitive or confidential information or data could be exposed or stolen. Just like Mr. Shego talked about some personal research, and ChatGPT can also render your personal information to third parties as a request, which is also part of the sensitive information or data privacy and security vulnerability. So there's also the risk of unauthorized access to the model, which is through bypassing its protocols and rest, and also leading to the theft of its intellectual properties or sensitive information. So, like any other AI language or model, that has the potential to impact data privacy in several ways. So ChatGPT has its positive impact on data privacy, and there are some positive possible effects of ChatGPT on data privacy. For example, let's say data exposure. Yes, like I talked about for the data breach, ChatGPT requires a large amount of training data that functions effectively, which may include sensitive or confidential information, like I said. So it also brings us to the point of re-identification. Yes, so that's another aspect of um, security, or let's say data privacy and security. Yes, as a vulnerability. So the identification. So ChatGPT requires a large amount of data. So ChatGPT, in a way, may also reveal information about individuals, organizations um, to persons that was intended to render a different result, or let's say receive a different result. So, and it is intended to be kept private. For example, let's say the model may learn to associate its certain patterns of text with specific individuals or group, even if the data has been anonymized or aggregated, like I made mention of the aspect of um, third party exposure. So another aspect of security and data privacy and security vulnerabilities is surveillance. So ChatGPT can be used for surveillance purposes also, such as monitoring social medias or online forums for certain keyword or topics. So this can potentially harm individuals or leak their informations, and the right to privacy and freedom of expression. So, lastly, I will talk about the aspect of discrimination in terms of the data privacy and security. So, discrimination, if ChatGPT is trained to be on a biased or discriminatory data aspect, it may reproduce this biased outputs, which can potentially be harmful to its users and its existing and inadequately, and it can also be, just like I said, it can be harmful to users and potential persons which are about giving out their information to ChatGPT. Yeah, so that's all for the vulnerability.
Thank you so much, Mr. Briggs, for that interesting comments by you and view with regards the vulnerabilities that are related to chat bots like Chat GPT. Mr. Briggs, if I may ask, what are your advice, or what is actually your advice to, you know, the public, so to say, while using this particular platform? I believe everyone is actually happy. Everyone is happy with this platform. We're all excited. We're really enjoying it. But then, as a cybersecurity specialist, what would be your advice to the public while they are using this particular app?
First of all, is to be cautious of how they use the application, because it's prone to getting hacked. And while it's famous, most hackers are trying to get into their information systems to harvest, let's say, sensitive information. So it's just about being cautious about, and the information you give out, just being cautious, because ChatGPT is a powerful tool, but it's important to be mindful of the information you share with it. Avoid sharing sensitive or confidential information that you wouldn't want the public to be aware of. For example, let's say you getting to register and make use of the chat GPT. There's what we call email ranking. You can use, let's say, your primary mail or your spare mail to log in or create accounts with ChatGPT instead of using your business mail. Because, like I said, while the popularity of ChatGPT grows by the day, That's how more eyes and script kiddies also would be testing their tools, and even the kind of attack results they get from ChatGPT can also be used to attack the ChatGPT. And very important, the next aspect is verifying the information you um, place on ChatGPT, or you accept from ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT is capable of generating text that can be convincing and authoritative. But it's important to verify any information it provides. Don't take its response at face of value without doing your own research of fact checking. Just like Mr. Shegun talked about, that all the information he gets from ChatGPT is not used directly. He only uses the ChatGPT for research and makes his own, generating his own text by himself. Yeah, so use another aspect which users need to be careful about is using reputable sources. That's very important. So when using ChatGPT, make sure you are using reputable sources for the data you provide to the model. Avoid using unverified or untrusted sources, as this could increase the risk of incorrect or misleading outputs. So if you check on um, Play Store, while the ChatGPT released its Android app, you can see other chat bots on Play Store. So when you tend to have the wrong knowledge about a particular chatbot which you want to download, you can go on Play Store and get a malware or a Trojan which can actually affect your system, or cause harm to your device in a way. So that's another aspect which users of ChatGPT needs to be aware of. So another form of the awareness is to be aware of the biases, like I talked about, as with any machine learning technology which is associated with chatbots. Yeah, so ChatGPT may be subject to biases, and that can impact its output. So the output which we talk about is the results it gives to its users. It is very important because most people rely on the single results, and without even having an extra, let's say, research about the information they get from ChatGPT. So on the normal base, when people go to Google, they get information from multiple sites and they compare. But now people just get information from ChatGPT and they don't care to know if the informations are correct or not. That's the aspect of copywriting, and also content creators also make certain mistakes where they would have to wait till a particular deadline of let's say work submission. They will just have to use ChatGPT to automate their request, and all they do is get the answer and just post it out. So I think that's that for now. And also practice good cybersecurity hygiene. That is very important. Practice good cybersecurity hygiene. That is one of the ways users can protect themselves, or mitigate any kind of vulnerability or threat that comes from ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT may store some of your personal information or data. So it's important to practice good cybersecurity hygiene. Let's say a regular change of passwords, checking if your email is being compromised, and so on and so forth. So this includes, like I said, using strong password, avoiding, let's say, public Wi-Fi's and networks, and keeping your software and security settings up to date. So when you have the security settings up to date, if there is a kind of, let's say, a breach, or let's say you have a web of trust, you have an antivirus, you have a firewall, and all these security applications can help you keep track of, let's say, if there's a vulnerability in your device which was caused by ChatGPT being vulnerable to any of the attacks which I talked about, or your email was being compromised by ChatGPT involving on a data breach. So if you use tools that verify if your credentials was engaged in a data breach. You can get information to actually change and adapt to the cybersecurity hygiene, which is good cybersecurity hygiene. Because there are some cybersecurity hygienes which are just normal, and there's a reason why it is called good cybersecurity hygiene. So, if you notice any concern or malicious behavior while using ChatGPT, such as inappropriate or harmful outputs, you can also make reports to the developers, because I believe there's an option where you can chat with the customer care or you can chat with the developers to tell them about any vulnerability to save others. So once you notice any fault or any glitch in the software, you get to them either through mail or through chatting with the developers, which I believe there's a medium for that. So that would help safeguard you and others from the vulnerabilities or the risk attached, and it would help you stay safe while using ChatGPT. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Briggs. We really appreciate your time and all your inputs with regards Chat GPT. For our audience listening to us right now, I believe we've actually benefited one or two information with regards usage of Chat GPT. And one thing we want to remember from what Mr. Briggs said is the information coming from Chat GPT are not always accurate. Even the platform in itself, there's a section limitations, of this app. There's a section there that
Yeah.
also specify this. Like it's actually stated this that the information I'm bringing is not always accurate. So we want to ensure that we validate whatever information we are getting from Chat GPT. But truly, so far, I've been able to see the platform. I've been able to use the platform. I actually like the platform and it's doing awesomely well. However, that is why we have sessions like this that would always call our attention to the fact that we need to be careful while using this app. We need to be cautious. Of course, cybersecurity has to do with confidentiality of information, integrity, CIA, integrity. So that integrity part is very, very key. So we want to be very careful while using Chat GPT. Mr. Briggs, do you have any final information for us before we close the meeting? We ought to use 30 minutes
Yeah.
though.
So yeah, lastly is before you use any popular application, I believe there's a kind of privacy policy attached to it. So learn to read. I know privacy policies are very long to read, which takes time, and nobody wants to read the whole of the policies. You have to read the policies, because if there's a data breach, information which would guide you, and let's say they might put in their let's say the privacy policies that data breach can occur at any time. This is what you can do if a data breach occurs, and they can give leading information to you protecting your information and give you guidelines on of the kind of information you are supposed to render. So when you read privacy policies, it helps you and gives you a security guide on how to use a particular software or going into a website or an application, because I believe every has a privacy policy, and what we just do is just click, and all we want to do is use the application. So it's very important, and like Daniel talked about the limitations which ChatGPT stated, you go through the limitations. I believe they are trying to state some facts in the limitations. Go through it to know what you are actually searching for. Yeah, so that's all I can say. And thanks everyone for joining us. I remain that was Subo IBA Breaks. I didn't do a proper introduction at the beginning. I'm a security specialist and also a blockchain security analyst. So till we get to you on our next webinars, which we'll be putting up very soon, we'll be having interesting content on a regular. So do well to hook up and Join us the next time we come your way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Briggs. Yes, that is actually what we do at Cyber Safety Media. We ensure to enlighten the public on everything cybersecurity, all they need to know, with regard to securing their environment and ensuring that they are not vulnerable to any attack in any way. And we really want to thank you very much for staying up to this time. Thank you so much. We also look to having you on our next session. Thank you so much. Do have a wonderful night. Thank you, Mr. Briggs.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you very
Good
much.
night. Yeah.